Hey, welcome back to Get Down to Business. Joining us today is a battle-tested manufacturing executive, an international speaker, and a premier authority on people-centric leadership. As the CEO of Stone Age, an employee-owned manufacturing technology company specializing in automated industrial cleaning equipment, she has spent nearly 2 decades leading massive organizational growth and embedding a culture of absolute accountability. She's the author of The Ownership Mindset and the highly anticipated book, Talk with Trust, how to own feedback, spark growth, and build stronger teams. And I'm absolutely thrilled, delighted, and honored to welcome to the show, Kerry Siggins.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. 20 years leading Stone Age through high-stakes growth and transformation. And you argue, Kerry, that most workplace dysfunction has nothing to do with a poor strategy or a lack of raw talent, but is entirely driven by conversations that never happen. Why are even highly successful, assertive corporate executives so deeply terrified of having difficult conversations?
Because we're human.
Yeah.
And I think that's the interesting part about being a leader is that we are expected, and rightfully so, to be able to have difficult conversations and do them well, to do them perfectly every time. But we don't. We're humans. We worry about what giving feedback is going to say about us, how it's going to impact the relationship. We avoid it because we don't want to deal with the consequences of what happens if a conversation goes wrong or you have to make a tough decision. And so we find ourselves putting things off because sometimes it's just easier to not deal with, but it always comes back to bite you in my experience.
Yeah, when people avoid direct confrontation, they're not eliminating the problem. I agree with that completely. They're just managing the tension indirectly. So from an operational standpoint, what is the compounding financial and cultural cost when a team allows indirect tension to fester over, let's just say, 6 to 12 months?
Sure. It erodes trust. And trust is the foundation of any successful organization. And if you don't have trust within your organization, then you don't have people who are as productive. They aren't sharing their ideas. They're not as innovative. Everybody's just collecting a paycheck. And running an employee-owned company who has spent a lot of time teaching people how to think and act like owners, I see the benefit of having a culture where that trust exists. And if people don't feel that leadership is being truthful, that they're having conversations that help people grow, that they don't know where they stand within the organization, that feedback isn't something that is truly valued, then they're not going to show up in the same way. And so trust is really the foundation. And if you aren't having difficult conversations, if you're not addressing conflict head on, if you're not being transparent, then you can't have trust within your organization.
Absolutely. And at the center of your new book, Talk with Trust, is the shares model. For a manager who has an incredibly tough performance review to deliver tomorrow morning, how does walking through the 6-step framework fundamentally alter the outcome of that meeting?
It helps you prepare yourself. And I think that's where most people go wrong when giving feedback, is that they don't prepare properly. And so the shares model helps you think through what you want to say, and it helps you stay in dialogue. And I think that's the really important piece of this. Most leaders want to get through delivering really tough performance review as quickly as possible because it's uncomfortable. And so they rush through it, they make their points, but they don't necessarily invite that dialogue. And they don't say, how are you experiencing this? How does this feel for you? Can you tell me what's going on? And you miss so much of that, of the nuance of what is happening in a situation if you don't ask questions and you don't stay in dialogue and you don't allow that other person to be able to say, hey, this is what I feel. This is how I can own it or not. And so the shares model is all about preparation. It's about being able to stay in dialogue so that you truly understand the situation and can build that relationship. And the most important thing is it helps you stay grounded, because if you're emotional, the other person is going to be emotional. If another person gets emotional and you amp up to meet them where they're at, the conversation sometimes can disintegrate, can go bad, can not get you the outcome that you're looking for. And so the shares model helps you be able to prepare and stay in that dialogue and keep yourself grounded when the stakes are high.
Let's chat about Stone Age. Stone Age is an employee-owned company. How does that employee ownership structure change the way frontline staff look at feedback and corporate accountability compared to a traditional top-down corporation?
Yes, I think that people understand that that feedback is what makes our culture work. And because we want people to think and act like owners, we have to solicit feedback from them. We have to ask them what they think. And so we are in this constant loop of feedback. And feedback doesn't always have to be tough, right? It can just be, I want to share this idea, or I think we are going in the wrong direction. And because we teach our employees how to have that type of conversation, how to stay in dialogue, how to speak up, how to disagree, how to give feedback, then they approach the conversation with this is wanted. People care about my opinion. And so it doesn't matter if you are an executive leader or a frontline individual contributor, everybody's opinion matters. And when you know your opinion matters, you're more likely to speak up and be part of the organization to contribute to the value that the company is bringing to your customers.
Kerry, a common friction point for leaders is delivering feedback that accidentally triggers immediate defensiveness or maybe emotional shutdown from an employee. What is the mechanical secret to delivering hard, objective data while still making the person across the table feel safe and supported?
Yes, so this is a big part of the shares model. It's have your facts and your feelings ready. If you just have your facts, feedback can feel cold. If you just have your feelings about the situation, it can feel ungrounded in reality for the person. And so when you have both of them ready, these are the observable behaviors that I'm seeing, the observable impact of your actions. And this is how I feel about this, or this is how the team feels about it. It helps the person have the full picture. And so one without the other makes feedback less effective. So a lot of people just want to go in with the facts and they want to keep the feelings separate, but people need to understand that their behaviors, their action, whatever you're giving them feedback on, has an emotional impact on the organization as well. And it's only fair to be direct and honest with them about that full impact.
Kerry, you run immersive workshops called the Talk with Trust Leadership Experience, where teams practice these skills that we've been talking about in real time. What's the single biggest breakthrough or aha moment that executive leadership teams typically experience during these live sessions?
There's two things, actually. One, most people think that they are avoiding difficult conversations because they don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. But after we go through these experiences, people understand that it's actually they're avoiding how they feel about themselves. I don't want to be the person who fires somebody. And it doesn't mean that they don't care about the other person. You do. But all of the discomfort really comes from the things that you want to avoid feeling about yourself, or that other people might feel about you. And when you have that perspective, it really helps you shape, okay, this isn't about me. This is about the other person. And I think that that's a really important distinction in understanding why we avoid things in our life. The second thing that people really get from the immersive Talk with Trust experience is that there is a way to be able to give feedback that is kind, helpful, and direct. And when you approach it with that philosophy, I'm going to be kind, I'm going to be helpful, and I'm going to be direct, you almost always can leave the conversation with a better relationship, even if it's difficult. So just giving people that little bit of framework that you can be direct and you can still be kind, and those two things can go together, it really empowers people to lean into the difficult conversations.
In 30 seconds or less, for somebody who's driving home right now who knows that there's a critical, uncomfortable elephant in the room conversation that they've been dodging all week, what's the very first thing that they need to do tomorrow morning to execute that Talk with Trust?
sit down and specify the outcome that you want to have with the conversation. What is it that I want when I have to have it? And then have it. I just recently did a podcast on this. I have my own podcast, and I talked about the things that cause us stress. And we tend to say we need to remove the things that cause us stress. I don't want to have a stressful life. But if we're really honest with ourselves, the vast majority of our stress comes from the things that we are avoiding. So if you know that you need to have a conversation, sit down, use the shares model, specify the outcome that you want to have, and go have the conversation.
Awesome.
You will feel so much better once you have it.
Absolutely. Kerry, how can we find the book? How can we get in touch?
You can find everything on my website, kerrysiggins.com. The book is available for pre-order on all the major book publishers' websites, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org. So you can check it out there. But all things Kerry Siggins is on my website, kerrysiggins.com.
Kerry, thank you so much for teaching us, for educating us, for inspiring us. And that's a wrap for us this week on the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Get to my website, shalomklein.com, or of course, check us out on your favorite podcast app. To success, let's get down to business. We'll see you next week.